People in the trade world believe gambling is the easiest way to get rich, because in gambling, everything depends on luck. But what if I told you that because of a simple gambling dispute, an entire family was cut to pieces, and their flesh was later served in a restaurant? What really happened? Today, we are going to investigate the case of the murder restaurant. Macau is China's most extravagant city, full of every kind of luxury: restaurants, casinos, and giant hotels. In 1850, gambling became legal in China, and soon after, the country turned into its own Las Vegas. Almost everyone there was addicted to gambling. The story begins with a man named Chan Shivaling, also known as Huang. Not much is known about his childhood or his parents from the old articles. But in the 1970s, he moved to Hong Kong. Over time, he committed many crimes there: rape, sexual assault, murders. Once, after a dispute in gambling, he even killed a man and burned him. To avoid arrest, he burned his fingerprints so police couldn't identify him. Every time he committed a murder, he would change his name and date of birth. After a series of crimes, he moved again. That's when he fell in love with his landlord's daughter, Massacre. She believed Huang was a good man, but her father hated him. When Massacre realized her father would never approve, she ran away with Huang, and they married. Together, they moved to Macau. But in Macau, Huang became completely addicted to gambling. He spent entire days in casinos, hardly ever coming home. Eventually, he met a couple, Zheng and Chen Huiyu. They ran a restaurant in Macau called the Eight Immortals Restaurant, famous for its dumplings. The restaurant was highly successful, but the couple also had a dangerous addiction: gambling. In 1984, Huang and the restaurant owner, Ji Heng, got into a gambling match. They bet heavily, and Ji Heng lost badly, about $20,000 in debt. It was a massive loss, one he couldn't pay off because running the restaurant didn't make that much money. Ji Heng pleaded with Huang for 1 year's time to repay the money. He promised, if he failed, Huang could take his restaurant. But instead of stopping, Ji Heng kept gambling. He lost more matches, and his total debt skyrocketed to $75,000. It became clear he could never repay Huang. Huang warned him. After 1 year, he would take both the money and the restaurant. Time passed, and the year finally ended. In August 1985, in frustration and rage, Huang went to the restaurant. It was nighttime, and inside were not just Ji Heng, but his entire family of 9 people. Inside the restaurant that night, Ji Heng's family members were cleaning up and preparing dishes for the next day. When Huang arrived, he immediately demanded his money. "Give me my money, I need it badly," Huang said. But Ji Heng refused to pay. Huang then lowered his demand. "If you can't give me $75,000, then at least give me $10,000 right now, and the rest later." But even that was impossible. Ji Heng's family didn't have that much cash on hand. Huang then reminded him, "You promised me that if you couldn't pay me back after 1 year, this restaurant would be mine. Then hand over the papers." Ji Heng protested, "I can't give you my restaurant. If I do, how will my family survive? How will we eat?" In short, Ji Heng refused. Huang's anger boiled over. In a fit of rage, he grabbed a beer bottle and smashed it over Ji Heng's head. The bottle shattered, and blood poured from Ji Heng's skull. Then, wielding the broken bottle like a weapon, Huang held it to the throat of Ji Heng's 7-year-old daughter, threatening to slit her throat if the family didn't obey. He forced the entire family to tie themselves up with rope. As this was happening, Ji Heng's sister managed to escape. She ran outside, screaming, "Someone's trying to kill us inside! Help us!" But before anyone could intervene, Huang dragged her back inside and, in front of the family, slit her throat. Imagine the horror, watching your family murdered before your eyes, knowing your turn is next, utterly helpless. That night, Huang slaughtered the entire Ji Hung family, 9 people in total. When it was over, Huang suddenly realized one family member was still missing. Furious, he laid on top of the corpses and waited. Hours later, when the missing member came home, Huang ambushed him and cut his throat as well. After killing them all, he spent 8 hours cleaning the floor. Then he began dismembering the bodies, separating meat from bone. The flesh he kept, while the bones he stuffed into black trash bags. He dumped most of the bones into city trash bins and threw others into the ocean. With the evidence cleared, Huang returned to the restaurant, opened the safe, and stole large amounts of cash along with all of the restaurant's important documents. He transferred the restaurant into his own name. That night, he stayed inside the restaurant. The next morning, when the delivery truck driver arrived with food supplies, he noticed a note on the shutter: closed for the next 3 days. The driver was puzzled. Normally, if there was an emergency, the owners always told him in advance. This time, no one had said anything. Curious, he knocked on the shutter. Huang himself came out. The driver asked, "Where are Ji Hung and his family?" "They went out of the city for a few days," Huang replied casually. For the next 3 days, the restaurant remained closed. During that time, Huang scrubbed every trace of blood and cleaned the restaurant spotless. He deposited the stolen cash in his bank account and finalized transferring ownership of the restaurant into his own name. After 3 days, the restaurant reopened, now under Huang's management. August 8, 1985. At Hak Sa Beach, a swimmer discovered body parts stuffed inside black trash bags. He immediately informed the police, and officers rushed to the scene. At first, when the police examined the remains, they assumed they belonged to smugglers who had tried to enter China illegally. But upon closer inspection, investigators noticed that the body parts bore numerous knife marks. And worse, these parts clearly belonged to different people. As the days passed, more and more human remains kept surfacing across Macau. The police conducted DNA tests, comparing the body parts with samples from missing persons reports. But oddly enough, at that time, no active missing persons case matched the remains. Still, the gruesome case grew famous across China, drawing attention nationwide. Meanwhile, Ji Hung's relatives had been sending letters for months, desperately asking about the family, but received no reply. Finally, after 3 months with no word, they filed an official missing persons report for Ji Hung and his family. When police compared the newly filed DNA samples with the discovered body parts, the results came back. A match. The horrific truth was revealed. The chopped-up remains washing up on beaches belonged to the Ji Hung family. During the investigation, police uncovered another disturbing fact. Just 1 day before the family's disappearance, Ji Hung had allegedly transferred ownership of his restaurant, the Immortal Restaurant, to Huang. Even the family home had been rented out by Huang, meaning he was profiting from it too. In short, Huang was not only running the restaurant, but also making money off the Ji Hung family's house. Then came the breakthrough. From one of the trash bags containing remains, police recovered the passports of Ji Hung and his children. This meant that Ji Hung and his family had never actually left the city, nor had they left the country. When Huang realized that the police had gathered solid evidence against him, he tried to flee China. But fate had other plans. He was arrested right at the airport. On September 28, 1986, Huang was thrown into jail. Then, on October 2nd, his trial began. He was charged with the brutal murder of 10 people. During the 4-day court trial, Huang confessed in shocking detail how he had tormented Ji Hung's family before killing them, chopping their bodies into pieces, and throwing their remains into the ocean. After his confession, he was sent back to prison. But in jail, his torment continued. Other inmates tortured him relentlessly. Finally, on December 4th, Huang slit his own wrist with a bottle cap and committed suicide in his cell. Even after Huang's death, horrifying rumors circulated. One of the most chilling was that during the days when he had taken over Ji Heng's restaurant, the dumplings he served to customers did not contain pork at all, but instead were filled with the flesh of Ji Heng's murdered family. When police later raided the restaurant for evidence, they discovered that Huang had even offered dumplings to investigators, dumplings stuffed with human meat. And with that, today's horrifying case comes to an end. Keep your family close. Stay safe. I'll see you in the next episode very, very soon.